Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Liu from the Disinsider, and today I'm joined by Jongnic Bontemps and Raashi Kulkarni, two incredibly gifted composers, and I am beyond honored to talk with today about their upcoming film World's Best coming to Disney Plus later this month. We were just kind of starting off, and right off the bat, you are both very genuine, kind people. And I can see that a lot in your music too. And like Rashi with Afterglow, I was listening to it and I was like, man, this is like, I was getting some Beach Boys vibes because it was like, I was writing it down like it's a cavalcade of emotion coming together. And JB, congratulations on Rise of the Beast.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. So I want to say congratulations for you using the word cavalcade in a proper
Thank you.
sentence. That was a nice one, man. I guess you're in college, right? That's great.
Thank you very much. Hey, the one thing I got taught was how to use cavalcade.
There we go. So we're good. Mission accomplished.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I saw that you're at the Paramount screening for Rise of the Beast. It's like, oh my gosh, that's totally amazing. Because you're just like coming off the heels of all this success. It's like making time for us. We could not be more grateful.
Oh, give me a break. We wouldn't be doing the things that we do without people like you, without our audiences, without folks enjoying the content that we create. So anytime we get a chance to talk with people, we are the blessed ones.
Oh, thank you. Man, that is awesome. You guys are the best. Well, I was wondering, I would love to know with World's Best, we watched it last night and it was such a fun, well-made
Thank
movie.
you.
It's like you see so many streaming shows today. You're like, this isn't like what I was wanting. I was like, this is an actual movie. And it's really, I got a lot of it with, I wrote down, I was writing notes like subdued sadness for just little moments with Prem when that great wide shot when Jerome said, let's take a break as friends. It's like, oh, like it makes you
Mm.
feel.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, like, what maybe are for both of you your musical inspirations coming to World's Best, like a bit hip hop, a bit of lo-fi jazz.
There we
JB.
go.
Yeah, JB.
No problem. I'll jump on this one. So, you know, Rashi, I'm going to give you a little insight. Rashi knew about this project way before I did, and she wanted to be on this project. And then it came to me as well through my agency. But I said to Rashi, this is perfect for you. So, yeah, I'm going to submit something. And if they hire me, I'm definitely bringing you on board. And if they hire you, you can do it by yourself. It's totally fine. I want no hard feelings whatsoever. But, they hired Rashi because she's amazing. And, they asked her, so, well, you are hired, but do you want to bring anybody else on, to work with you? Because we can make that happen. And she graciously extended an invitation to me to join her on this project. And I am so honored and thankful that we are able to do this together. And after reading the script and we listened to the songs, we started to pull together what we thought like the sound of the score was going to be. It's a hip hop musical. So we had to make sure that the hip hop was authentic to the time, 90s, 2000, and it was really more of a boom bap kind of sound. I was thinking we have some like De La Soul in there, a little bit of Tribe Called Quest, were the influences for the songs. So I was like, okay, I know this sound because I grew up with this. So I started playing pop. We need a boom bap drum kit. We need electric bass because that's the sound of that kind of music, right? But then the other thing that we talked about was the characters are South Asian. So we need to represent that culture in an extremely authentic way. And that's where I said, Rashi, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And Rashi, what did we do?
Well, yeah, I mean, Utkarsh wanted us to pay homage to their Indian roots, but we wanted to do it in a subtle way while still respecting the hip hop culture of the 90s and the 2000s. So we were able to blend all these elements of, our background in orchestral music, with hip hop, with South Asian culture, and essentially create a score that I think was unique. It was fresh. We were able to get these vocalists on our score, Kieran and Nivi. They're on TikTok if you want to check them out. We were able to get Utkarsh's vocals into the score. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of all of that. But yeah, we were just basically able to combine all these elements and organically create something for the film.
And
It's
that's one thing that I
fantastic.
want to just underscore a little bit is the organic nature because we grew up with this music. I grew up with hip hop. Raashi grew up with South Asian music. So this was in our wheelhouse, right? We do. So everything that came out for the score, we're both proud to say is organic and is authentic, right? And we think represents the characters that are on screen. And that's what we're most proud about.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it sounded like when I was getting a lot of into it too, now hearing you both seeing your passion, it didn't seem like, oh, you pulled this off some random website and let's just put this as like the background. Like, no, this fits so well with the characters because and I know you both get this, music makes the movie and it can make or break it. And it by far made the movie because you're telling your own story with these beautiful scores as well as visually seeing it, but audibly too, you're getting the sense of, well, how are they really feeling right now? So that was really fantastic. We were just like, I just loved like the horns that you would have, and then you'd just go into like this funky bass line. And then it was
Mm-hmm.
just like this really chill, laid back. I was like, oh wow, this is a bit of everything, but that's kind of what the movie's about too. So it was like, finally we can get back on track with filmmaking like that.
Absolutely. And we're just really thankful that Disney, invested in a film like this, that
Yeah.
they invested, in the actors and the director. I mean, everybody up and down, I think, represented the story from their own experiences and from their life. And that's what I think you're feeling when you watch the movie and you listen to the score is this is who we are. And we're being vulnerable and putting it out there.
And shout out to Disney for also investing in the musicians. We were able to get a full string orchestra, a pop brass section, an electric bass player, and our vocalist. We had 4 scoring sessions for this film.
Wow. So is that
Yeah.
something like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you
No,
off.
I'm saying both in New York and LA. So we were all over the place
Yeah.
recording for this score.
Wow. So was this kind of like, because I know you both collaborated on the wedding season. Was this kind of out of the books for something like, well, this is like a streaming series, like, wow, we're getting like all these great orchestras. Is this really exciting, or is this kind of like what you'd hope to expect?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think anytime we can record with a live orchestra, that's like a dream come true for any composer. As you know, a lot of times composers have to work in the box, they say, where you have to mock up everything. But obviously, when you can record a lush string section or real brass or real bass, having a real person perform those parts that's going to add to the beauty of the score, the raw emotion that you're looking for. So we did get lucky for wedding season as well, that we were able to record live strings. But for the Disney film, we were very lucky because so many of the instruments that you hear in the film are real people.
It's cool. It's finally like giving life
Oh,
back to
wait.
music.
And let's not forget, Rashi played flute on the score as well.
I did
So
put on the
she played
I'm
flute on
so
the score. That's right. So,
I forgot.
don't forget your contribution, that beautiful
Yes,
flute.
I'm a
You
flute
added
player.
that.
Yeah, so Prame's theme that you hear at the very beginning of the film, that's me.
That's her. That's right.
That is awesome. So you can really say like, I put my heart and soul into this music and in this work.
We do. I mean, that's why we do it, right?
Yay, that is all. I was kind of going into that because now you can put your own work into this. I was wondering, oh, when it comes to the process of coming from a different project and shifting your mind, how do you find inspiration to like, okay, here are some of the dailies or maybe some of the story beats that we're getting. Like, what is your approach to like, okay, gotta completely think totally differently for this movie?
That's such a good question. I think we were very lucky to be hired early on during the process. I think it was pre-production where we got hired, and we both read the script, and then we just had a jam session. Like JV and I just had a straight up jam session where we were coming up with themes and ideas based off the script, and we wrote suites of music, sent it to our director, see what he vibed with. Our wonderful director Roshan Sethi, who really allowed us to have full reign and have fun with the score. Yeah, JB.
The other thing too, is we came up with some themes, right? Some musical melodies that attached some emotion, right, to the characters. Remember, we got hired early. We don't really have anything to look at besides the script and the ideas, right? The ideas of losing a parent, the ideas of trying to traverse middle school and all the relationships there, right? Grieving, right? These are sort of the big concepts that are in the film. So we're like, well, what does that sound like to us?
Yeah.
And we both reverted back to our primary instrument. So first of all, not only Raashi plays, she's an amazing pianist. I'm a middling pianist, but we were both able to sit down, at our main instrument and really just try and create some melodies and some chord progressions that evoke these feelings for both of us.
Yeah.
And when we knew that we both felt something, okay, we had something. And then we
Yeah.
would go off maybe separately and develop those ideas and then share them back with each other. So, I mean, the inspiration just came from honestly just trying to understand what emotions are we going for and what is the purpose, of the music, purpose of the score, and can we encapsulate that in, a melody and in a chord progression? And when
Yeah.
we get that, then the rest of the score kind of writes itself.
I know I felt like very connected to Prem's character because I too was on the math team in middle school. And like, and when you're that young, the problems that you have at that age seem so large, like larger than life. And so we tapped into that time of our lives and going on with what JB said about grief, like, loss, that's something that we've all experienced in the last few years. And so, yeah, like JB said, it was just tapping into these emotions and figuring out what would be best in moving the story forward. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I was thinking about it a lot too when I was watching, well, hearing your work in the movie, was that there's that famous clip of E.T. where you see Elliot go off the cliff where there's no music, and it just doesn't hit.
Mm,
And then it's when you had in John Williams' masterful score, the flying theme, and it's like, oh, I'm feeling it. My gosh. So did you kind of
mhm.
feel that sense too? And with my next question is like with collaboration, do you ever get that like, oh, here's an aha moment, like, oh, we gotta use this work?
With each other,
Ooh.
we did, I think. I feel like we've worked together enough that if one of us comes up with an idea and then sends it, to the other person, we open up the session, be like, "Oh, that made me think of something." Like that's the best part of working with someone that you're friends with, and that's what we did in this film, in this score. We would open each other's sessions, and add ideas, and yeah, JV, you go.
No, I mean, well, first of all, Rashi made the supreme sacrifice and came over to the same program that I use. We use two different programs for writing. And I was like, Rashi, to make this work, can you please, because I'm an old man and I can't deal with change. So she said yes. And she was able to jump over and use, the same software. So we were actually able to do that.
Wow.
And, there were all these moments where potentially like I would do something and it didn't quite work correctly, right? Then Rashi said, "Hey, I have an idea. Let me go in and change that. Open the session, change the section, right? And then of course, then it would start to work. And then I said, oh wait, let me grab on top of that. Let me go ahead and add a couple things here and there because I hear some things. So it's really being able to bounce these musical cues back and forth that I think allowed us to keep being inspired. Because sometimes inspiration comes from hearing something else, right? Something that's outside of you then triggers a idea inside of you. And when you have someone that you respect and that is such an amazing artist like Rashi to work with, these ideas just keep getting popped, for me. So I was really happy to collaborate with her on this. And I think that joy came through the score and the notes that you hear in the movie.
Ditto, my friend. I can't even say it anymore. Ditto.
I'll beat you
It's
to it.
it's it's so refreshing, like, and in this day of age, we see so many people trying to make it big really fast, but on their own. But it's really refreshing to see a duo in this fantastic professional relationship where you're supporting each other. And we just don't see that much often these days. I'm
Mm.
through your conversation, I'm getting reminded a lot of like Laurel Canyon in the 60s in Hollywood, where you would just have like Frank Zappa next to Jim Morrison or Brian Wilson was up the street, but they'd all help each other. And they weren't trying to
Mm.
cut each other off and like, let me get that riff so I can make this song. And then like, I'll see you in the dust. With that, do you ever, in this sense, with someone like working with Disney where okay, we're helping each other build up this work and then you're also collaborating with the director and like Utkarsh, did they ever come to you and say, okay, well, we like what you're doing here, but can we maybe tweak this a little bit to fit this emotion? Or were they just like, hey, we love your work, let's fit it in?
No, 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 no. This is the former all the time. That's the other side of the collaboration is
Yeah,
look, we are not artists. We are artisans,
Mhm.
meaning that we create art for a purpose. We create art for someone's requirements, right?
right.
And those requirements are the story, the vision of the director, the vision of the studio. So our art has to fit those requirements.
Yes.
So all we are asking them to do is help us make this music better, help us tell the story better. And that is crucial information for us to be able to create an experience for the audience that is memorable, right?
Right.
And that is inspiring. So we rely on them to tell us how to make something better. And honestly, I'm we all love hearing version one, great, put it in the movie. It happens. Not a lot, but it happens, right? But it's really the cues that you sort of get to V4, 5, 6, right? That you really sort of to create something that I think is special and something that really tells the story that's required.
Right. I mean, composition, as you know, is just a part of the storytelling process. It's a collective effort, and again, it's the director's vision, the producer's vision. Uh, we were lucky to be hired early so that we could start giving them ideas early on, and we felt very. I mean, I feel like we were fortunate to have a director who gave us such clear notes about what will serve the picture well, and that those are the best kind of notes. It made our writing better. And then Utkarsh was really great and was like, hey, like score, I'll let you two and the director, hash it out. And but gave his feedback on like getting our vocalists in there and then having him record his vocals into the score. But again, this is all a team effort. And I think that's what makes for a really a strong film.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely I think a notion that a lot of people, especially my generation, need to know is that it's really all about teamwork because you have this thought of, oh, I can do it on my own and just never stop hustling. But it's rather enlightening to see that, okay, you're depending on each other and you're leaning on one another and picking out each other's strengths, which is really nice to hear. So thank you for that. I was wondering if with in the sense of young music makers, what could be some notes of inspiration or like, oh, I would love to have known this when I was younger to tell them like, okay, this is what you should do, or maybe stop overthinking on this area. Do you have any bits of advice?
So my first bit of advice for young music makers is go live.
Mm.
Live. Through living and experiencing things, love, heartbreak, travel, friendships, whatever it is, that helps curate your voice. Because through living, we collect memories, ideas, things that resonate with us, and we reject things that don't resonate with us, right? And then through the amalgamation or the collection of all these ideas, we start to have a voice, we start to have opinions. So, musicians in general, we spend hours upon hours in a practice room by ourselves, right? Mastering an instrument. That needs to happen. But what also needs to happen if you want to be a composer or you want to be, a songwriter or a singer or whatever, you have to live because music is about creating experiences and you can only create experiences once you have experiences.
Yep. And I'll add on to that. There's a mantra that I've been telling myself for over a decade. It's passion, perseverance, patience. And I think the thing that young people, myself included, sometimes forget is the patience part. That, you know, we're on this lifelong journey, right? It's, if you get one project and you don't get something else, that's okay. That's life, right? I think enjoying the journey that we're on and realizing that, like, just focus on putting out good work, like that's the success, right? You know, that's the so I want to remind people that there, you know, there's not like an end point to this journey that we're on as music makers. You know, it's going to be a lifelong thing. And to have patience when things don't pan out when you want them to. I truly believe that, you know, if you focus on doing good work, do your best, things tend to fall in place, but in due time. You know, it's not, those kind of things are not up to us. All we can focus on is doing good work. That's something my parents always remind me.
Raashi, you said something great about working your hardest and in that patience. And I was thinking about with Afterglow and how do you take that inspiration of, well, I'm kind of making this work for myself, but I'm hoping others can find that inspiration in it. Do you kind of take that same approach with scoring a film, and same with JB with coming from like Rise of the Beast? Do you try to make something where it's like, okay, I would love to listen to this myself, but am I more concerned if others are going to appreciate it or if I'm going to find joy in it?
That's such a good question. So I wrote that EP when I was working full time as an assistant. I was working on several shows at once. I was writing a lot of additional music, and that was wonderful. I learned so much as a composer and as an assistant to somebody else. But when I would come home, I had all these ideas, and I was like, ooh, like, you know, this is, you know, and anyway, that turned into Afterglow. So for me, it was a cathartic experience to write that album. It tells a story from beginning to end. I won't get into it because we're talking about the world's best, but for me, it was being able to write something that, yeah, I love listening to it. And it did connect with people because I put my heart and soul into it. And I wanted to create a story from sunrise to the afterglow of sunset. And so I think you know, another piece of advice for young music makers is to keep writing music for yourself. Write music that will feed your soul. We write music, you know, on films and television shows and video games and all the things, and we're helping tell these collective stories. But I think it's important to keep writing for yourself, even if no one hears it, but just to create. That's what's fun, right?
No, that's very true. And I think, you know, this goes back to this whole artist versus artisan, right? When you're writing music for yourself, you are the primary consumer and you might ask people their opinions, right? If you're releasing an album, maybe there's a producer or a record label or this or that, you know, and you're asking them for your opinions. But generally, it's a reflection of like what you want to put out in the world for yourself, right? And the buck kind of stops there. It's like 80% you, maybe 20% other people that you let in. Film scoring side, it's probably the exact opposite, right? In that, yeah, of course you're going to start with something that you like, right? And if you don't like it, you're not going to present it, right? But that's a small chunk. Now, does the director like it? Does the producer like it? Does the studio like it? Does the video editor even like it? Everybody has an opinion. Does the catering guy who's doing catering, does he like it, right? I mean, they ask everybody to weigh in on music when you're working on a film. And the bigger the film you get, the more people are going to weigh in, right? So it becomes less and less about you and more about, does it elicit the response the story needs from all this myriad of people with all of their different perspectives and all the things that they like listening to and what makes them feel something, right? So I think you'll notice in general that when you move from being an artist to a media composer, it's very different.
Yeah.
And there are many artists who do not make the transition to media composer because it isn't as focused on you and your voice. And you need that, but that's not the main focus. The
Well,
focus is, do
you
all
can't,
these other people enjoy it as well?
and like, you can't be precious about your music when
Yes,
you're a media
you
composer.
can't be precious.
You cannot. You have to leave your ego at the door. Can't be precious about it. When you're creating for yourself, be as precious as you want, because it is your art that you're putting out into the world. But again, we know this going into film and TV, that it's a collaborative process. And so it's all about what's going to help tell the story. How are we going to help make this go from A to Z? Wow, we just we could do a whole
Well, it's true. And one last thing, I remember listening to James Newton Howard, obviously, the OG film composer, and his word of advice to my class when we visited him was, one of your jobs as a film composer is to make it extremely easy for the director, the producer, whoever, to say, I don't like it. So you can't be precious about anything. Look, they know you spent all night making this thing work. They know you put your heart and soul into it, that you probably love it, right? But you can't walk in with all of that, because you have to give them the ability to easily say, it's not working. And you say, okay, what's not working about it? What do I need to do? Let's start over. And you have to make that process extremely easy and open. And that's the job.
That's the job.
That's the job, man. This is like a wealth of knowledge, a master class.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Practice on this.
That is really, honestly, like, and you can hear that in World's Best too, because I would love to just like make this assumption that you take each of your previous projects, the knowledge that you learned from them, and then you just apply that to whatever you're working on currently.
100%.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. And we
Yeah,
also know what not to apply as well,
absolutely.
right?
I mean, I
Like that didn't work.
well, in any job, right? Like in any job, the longer you do it, you're gonna get better. So we're storytellers, we're honing the craft, we've written in all different genres of music. This film required certain things, and yeah, you tap into that.
Fantastic, man. I could honestly pick your brain all day as just a young person. Like, this is really great. I don't want to keep you because I know.
Alex, we're young too.
Oh, no, no, no. I don't mean it like that. I'm sorry. Oh, geez. Fire me.
No,
I
no,
didn't
no,
mean it
no,
like
no.
that.
It's okay, Alex. I'm not young, so it's fine. Rashi's young. I'm not. It's fine.
No, I
We're
didn't mean it
all
like
young.
that.
No, I'm
You
just kidding.
know,
I'm
just
just
like
kidding.
fresh out of college, I meant to say. I was just like, oh, geez. Okay, we're gonna cut that out. Oh, Dempsey, we're gonna cut that out. Thank you. Okay. Anywho, well, I was just wondering, as a final question, could you pull out maybe like, if you're in front of a classroom of students, what would be like one or two soundtracks you'd just pull out and say, listen to this, get some inspiration?
Oh, Jamie, you go first.
Oh wow. Okay. Um, you know, for me, I'm a big fan of the Black Panther soundtracks by Ludwig Göransson, because I mean, first of all, amazing work, right? And I, even on many projects, I listen to some of that stuff to try and like figure out what I want to steal from him. I'm like, what can I steal from him? But he's very masterful in authentically integrating the music of multiple cultures and representing those cultures in the scores that he does. And that is something that I wish to emulate in my own music, is pulling authentically from multiple cultures and multiple music genres, right, into the score. And doing that by really collaborating and partnering, with other people. I'm not the expert on every genre, right? I can't be. I do what I do. But I am a purveyor and curator, and I also have the power to bring other people on board to work with and collaborate with them to make something that represents what I want to do, but also represents their culture and their background. And that's what's super important. I'm not into, for lack of a better term, whitewashing the music so it all fits into sort of one Western classical tradition, right? I want to figure out, yes, we have to make the music accessible to audiences, but that doesn't mean it has to just stay in the Western classical tradition. Music is accessible to so many people. So let's start to integrate other cultures, other ideas. And as long as it serves the story, That's all that matters.
I mean, yeah, you said it. I'm trying to think. I mean, that's such a hard question, but I was just thinking of the Inception score because it's so otherworldly and again done so well with the hybrid of the synths and the orchestra and it makes you feel that tension. It makes you feel like it's just one of my favorite film scores. Hans Zimmer.
We love Hans Zimmer. Who doesn't? Fantastic. So yeah, the main thing is you want to make music that makes people feel and elicit emotion, which is again something that we all as artisans try to create. So that is fantastic. Thank you
That
so
is
much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thanks
well.
for
Thank
having
you for having us, Alex, man. And we had a great time chatting it up with you. So hopefully, yeah, you learned something, and that the people out there listening, to get something too.
Amen. That's what we want to do. Just spread news, spread truth, and also happiness. And I can see that exudes from both of you, just talking to you, also in your work. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll cut the video there, but thank you both for your time. I've never actually done something like this before, so I hope I didn't mess up too
Oh,
much.
You were
not at
great.
all. It was great. You were great. This is your first time. I had no idea.
I mean, yeah, I could have sworn you've been doing this for like ever.
Thank you.
Exactly.
You're too kind. And I
Exactly.
do mean all the flattery notes, because I don't like to flatter people, but truly like I find inspiration in both of you and your work. So please keep it up. And I'm excited to see what you guys do next. Like the next just beautiful duo in music making and what movies come up with. Like, I know those two.
Thank you, Alex.
Well,
Thanks
you
for
know
having.
what? Thank you for that.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. We hope to talk to you soon and best wishes for your future.
Thank
You
you.
too.